With harsh climates, tropical rainforests, massive rivers, and deadly savannas, Africa has always been the perfect location for some of the world's most menacing creatures. From the famous king of the jungle to bone-snapping monster crocodiles, there are plenty of creatures that could slaughter you instantly. However, what if we told you that Africa is nothing compared to what it was a few million years ago? Back then, there were far more menacing threats than you could imagine. In fact, you were as good as dead if you ever encountered these creatures, as they would stop at nothing to shred you limb from limb in mere seconds. Inostrancevia was among the animals you'd have the least chance of surviving against in ancient Africa. In the late Permian period, this creature had body lengths stretching up to 3.5 meters, or 11.5 feet, and an overall weight of 300 kilograms, or 550 pounds. One thing that made this creature formidable was the extremely powerful jaws equipped with serrated teeth and saber-like canines. Imagine having a strong, lion-like creature with a skull resembling a dinosaur sinking its 6-inch canines into your flesh. These animals were specially built to rip apart the toughest hides and divide bones asunder, and the fact that their jaws could execute a wide gape only made matters worse. On one part, the Inostrancevia was more like an ancient saber-toothed tiger. In prehistoric times, these beasts occupied the Karoo Basin in South Africa. Initially, scientists had only suspected an ancient saber-toothed creature like this existed after excavating fossils from Russia. However, more enlightenment on this creature's specific features and traits came after new fossils were found in South Africa. The extinct saber-toothed creature had a muscular build and powerful limbs similar to a tiger. Its hunting style also mirrored that of a tiger, as it would silently stalk its prey, emerging from the shadows to pounce and sink its claws into the throat of the unfortunate animal. Inostrancevia could prey on creatures like Scutosaurus, an armored reptile that could reach weights of 1.3 tons or 2,560 pounds, and yet measure just 2.7 meters or 9 feet in length. These species were a distant relative of turtles, though in terms of size, they were more like cattle, only a lot more aggressive and deadly, thanks to their spiky armor that could mess you up if you got rammed by one of them. Their name translates to shield lizard, a perfect match for their short, stout, lizard-like body covered in rough osteoderms. Research has shown that these creatures were very aggressive, even towards harmless smaller animals that posed no threat. There's a massive chance that any human who dared to show up in their domain would get crushed under their 3,000-pound weight, or get bashed in the skull by their formidably large side teeth. There were several mind-boggling creatures like these littered across the landscape, and even in the swamps as well. The Beelzebufo, for instance, was one swamp creature that could give you nightmares. This monstrous amphibian prowled the swampy waters of ancient Madagascar during the late Cretaceous period, about 66 to 70 million years ago. The uniquely odd frog could reach lengths of 41 centimeters or 16 inches and weigh up to 4.5 kilograms or 10 pounds. Their massive head was enough to get you thinking twice about reality, and the skull's skeletal structure was even more intriguing. However, you wouldn't want to get too close to one of these chubby amphibians, as Beelzebufos possessed powerful jaws with an impressive bite force ranging from 500 to 2,000 newtons. That's enough to snap your finger. And guess what? To be injured by this devil frog would be a living hell due to its poison-laced tongue. Its poison could slowly drain the life off of you until you became easy prey for any of the other menacing predators in prehistoric Africa. Research has shown that Beelzebufos were nasty little demons, very aggressive and never afraid of a showdown, even against bigger predators. Their powerful bite allowed them to prey on small crocodilians and baby dinosaurs that wandered too far from home. But the Beelzebufo wasn't the only creature with an unusually powerful bite. The Pachyrhinocuta was also another unsuspecting creature that could really do damage to flesh and bones. This giant prehistoric hyena roamed Africa and Eurasia around 1.5 million years ago, measuring about 1 meter or 3.5 feet tall, with a length of 1.7 meters or 5.5 feet. These hyenas were spotted and large like modern-day African lions, weighing over 140 kilograms or 280 pounds. However, the scariest thing about this animal was its bite. Its powerful jaws could produce a bone-crushing bite force of over 800 kilograms per square inch, or around 7,500 newtons. The sharp teeth were another cause for worry, as they could crush the bones of zebras, deer, and even early humans who were unlucky enough to cross their path. Much like their modern-day counterparts, Pachyrhinocuta hunted and scavenged primarily in packs, Relying on their numbers due to their limited ability to chase down prey, you might have had a chance against this beast if you were fast on your feet. However, one creature that stands in stark contrast to the hyena is the honey badger, often referred to as a creature of legend. Modern badgers can face off against powerful predators like lions or crocodiles and send them running. Even hunters have testified to the ferocity and fearlessness of these little demons. If these small creatures are so deadly that they could maul you in the wild, imagine the havoc a larger, stronger, and equally fierce beast would wreak. Ekarusikakaran. This badger-like creature was a true terror to predators. As large as a leopard, the Ekarusikakaran was an ancient mustelid native to Kenya during the Miocene epoch. It could reach heights of 60 centimeters or 2 feet, weigh around 50 kilograms or 100 pounds, and grow as long as 1.2 meters or 4 feet. But perhaps what would make this animal very dangerous to humans was its strong physical build and powerful legs built for swift, long-distance running. It would hurt to get chased down and mauled by a 100-pound beast with sharp teeth and claws. The Ekorus was a hypercarnivore, meaning it wouldn't hesitate to ignore the African herbs and slice you up for dinner if you somehow showed up in Kenya 5.3 million years ago. Other animals in this hyper menu include the ancient three-toed horse or Urugnethohippus and the Nyanzakeras, an extinct genus of massive pigs. The Ekorus was like the leopard of prehistoric Africa, while the Simbakubwa Kutoka Africa was like the lion of the Miocene era. About 23 million years ago in present-day Kenya, you'd find these terrifying wild cats roaming the landscape, devouring whatever looked like prey. These mammals were huge, with a length of 3.8 meters or 12 feet, shoulder height of 1.3 meters or 4.3 feet, and weight of 1.1 tons or 2,200 pounds. Simbakubwa Kutoka Africa was a true behemoth, and its name literally translates to big lion in Swahili. However, this Miocene predator was no lion, but belonged to a group of extinct mammals called hyenodons. They were among the dominant predators of the time, well equipped with tenacious teeth and jaws for tearing flesh off of bones. Not even strong, massive creatures like rhinos could withstand their power and ferocious attacks. Simbakubwa had a unique skull and dental structure unlike any animal today, with 3 pairs of sharp, meat-slicing teeth. Thanks to these specialized teeth, these creatures could easily take down much larger prey, and there's no doubt a human would literally get soul-crushed in a single bite or reduced to bits and pieces in a matter of minutes. Speaking of predators with specialized teeth, one infamous African wildcat terrorized the landscape 2 million years ago. Popularly called the saber-toothed tiger, the Machairodus was a genus of prehistoric wildcats with peculiar, elongated canine teeth that roamed Africa, North America, and Eurasia in the late Miocene era. Their predominant feature was their curved, protruding canine teeth, sometimes reaching impressive lengths of 7 inches. The canines earned them the name Machairodus, which translates to knife tooth. These beasts hunted by sinking their knife teeth into the flesh of unfortunate prey. The fact that these animals had an impressive gape and were also as large as modern-day tigers made them even more deadly. In terms of size, the Machairodus measured 2 meters or 6.5 feet in length, while standing at a shoulder height of 1 meter or 3 feet. But perhaps the most intimidating thing about these creatures is that they were terrific hunters and loved to stalk or ambush prey. The last thing you'd want to encounter while taking a trip through prehistoric Africa would be a sneaky predator with powerful jaws and teeth that could immobilize you in one bite and rip your arm off in another. Speaking of ripping off arms, that was the specialty of the Megantereon. This prehistoric wild cat was arguably the most troublesome predator of its time, even though it was smaller than the Machairodus. Megantereon stood at a shoulder height of 85 centimeters or 2.8 feet with a length of 1.4 meters or 4.6 feet. Adults could weigh about 132 kilograms or 265 pounds. Pound for pound, they were as strong as jaguars. Their powerful neck muscles and limbs provided impressive strength and agility, making the Megantereon one of the baddest assassins of the African Miocene era, as it delivered a swift death. All this creature had to do was take one quick bite at the neck of its prey, sinking its long curved canine teeth into the delicate neck bone and tissue, and the rest is history. Megantereon hunted literally anything it could lay hands on, from gazelles to cattle and crocodilians. And much like jaguars of today, these predators had a knack for climbing trees. This gave them an advantage both for hunting and for keeping their meal off scavengers like the Pachyrhinacuda. However, what's most shocking about the Megantereon is that it interacted with our human ancestors. Several ancient fossils have been found by paleontologists showing human bones with deep wounds inflicted by this creature and its saber-toothed relatives. There's no telling how many of these beasts humans hunted down, as mankind was also one of the fearsome predators of ancient Africa. But then, it's safe to say, the odds would never be in your favor if you faced this beast alone. Another prehistoric cat that really terrorized humans at the time was the Dinofelis, also called the false saber-toothed cat. This intimidating predator was much larger than the Megantereon, measuring around 1.5 meters or 5 feet in length, with a weight of 100 kilograms or 200 pounds. However, size wasn't the real game asset of this cat. Rather, it was its teeth. The Dinofelis had unusually enlarged front canines, though not as long as those found in true saber-toothed cats mentioned earlier. But then these false saber teeth proved to be even more deadly for prey. Its hunting style revolved around using its speed to ambush and take down prey. Astonishingly, humans turned out to be a major delicacy to these cats. Research has shown that no other cat hunted down and ate early humans like this species. Despite their relatively small size, Dinofelis were the major animals that terrorized our African ancestors. One shocking fossil evidence was found in South Africa, where human skulls with twin holes in their skulls were retrieved and studied. The holes were an exact match to those produced by the Dinofelis' upper canines. These nasty predators were a challenge even for prehistoric giants like mammoths. But saber-toothed cats weren't the only predators that would make you run for cover in prehistoric Africa. And even if you had to take cover from the many land predators, you'd think that you'd be safer near the water. But you'll be shocked to realize that there are more terrifying things lurking in the depths below. The treacherous waters of prehistoric Africa were dominated by formidable creatures, and one major specimen that would have topped the food chain was the Crocodiles thorbjarnasoni. This extinct species of crocodiles were behemoths, reaching lengths of 8 meters or 27 feet and amassing weights up to 1.2 tons or 2,400 pounds. Crocodiles barely reach lengths of up to 18 feet, and even when they do, they become sluggish and lazy. But not the thorbjarnasoni. This species was agile and hard to intimidate with numbers, size, or weapons. They could literally engage you in a battle until their last breath, a literal fight to the death. This is why they were one of the major creatures that preyed on early humans. These crocs reigned during the Pleistocene era in modern-day Kenya and were practically monsters in every sense. To give you an idea, the jaws of this crocodile alone could fit in a curled-up human whole. That's because its skull alone measured up to 90 centimeters, with powerful jaws that could snap shut instantly, dissecting limb from limb and crushing bones to powder. Another reptile that ruled the swampy waters of prehistoric Africa was the Sarcosuchus imperator. This crocodile-like reptile has been given many names, one of which is the colossal super crocodile of the Cretaceous period. Their reign dates back to about 100 million years ago, and some experts have argued that this reptile could have given dinosaurs like the T-Rex a run for their money. With its 12-meter or 40-foot-long body and weight of 8 tons or 16,000 pounds, there's no doubt these reptiles were a force to be reckoned with. Its large backward-pointing teeth could easily devour fishes, and also worked fine in tearing the flesh of large land animals. Scientists have discovered that these creatures were opportunistic feeders, meaning you had best stay away from the water's edge. The bone-snapping speed, massive skull, and powerful jaws this reptile possessed made it easy to hunt down larger prey, snapping bones with a mind-blowing bite force of 9 tons or 19,000 pounds, though some experts have arguably pegged it at a lower mark of around 5 tons. Just so you know, this bite force far exceeds that of any animal alive today, and not even the T-Rex of prehistoric times was able to achieve this level of jaw power, as it only measured 8 tons or 16,000 pounds bite force. But of course, these reptiles were mainly domiciled in water. On land, however, too many predators lurked at every corner. You'd need to have eyes at the back of your head to see most predators coming. And yet, even if you did see them coming, some species could frighten you to death with their intimidating look. I mean, look at this thing. It's enough to send shivers down your spine or even give you a heart attack. A good example is the amphision. Imagine a crossbreed between a dog and a bear. These creatures possessed a head resembling a dog but a bear-like body, and a very impressive cat-like tail. Amphisions were native to Eurasia during the Miocene epoch. Their huge frame measured about 1.8 meters or 6 feet in length with a weight of around 200 kilos or 400 pounds. If this creature should pounce on you, you had best recite your last prayers. And as if their looks weren't enough reason to wish for death, the Amphision was a bone crusher. Their thickened neck and super-hardened skulls worked hand in hand with their powerful jaws to crush bones, while their razor-sharp teeth could rip flesh and bones apart in an instant. Thanks to this unfair size and power advantage, the Amphision was no picky eater and consumed large mammals. Their phenomenal size also made them no match for several other predators of the time. However, one Amphision prey that usually proved stubborn to the apex predator was the Chalicotherium. This extinct species shared habitats with ancient forms resembling modern-day horses and rhinos, with fossil deposits found in parts of Africa and Eurasia, dating back to the Miocene epoch. They were one of the biggest mammals around, with muscular bodies that made them a tough kill for any predator. However, much like today's horses, these animals were peaceful herbivores that only brought out their violent and destructive side when agitated. Chalicotherium had long arms that were highly efficient in grabbing and plucking leaves from trees, but it also had relatively short hind legs. Their facial and dental structure showed they were huge fans of soft vegetation. But make no mistake, this creature was no pushover. It had deadly long claws at the tip of its fingers. The claws were so long and uncomfortable that the Chalicotherium walked on its knuckles. These massive claws were deadly in combat, even for ferocious apex predators like the Amphision. If this herbivore existed today, you would have best kept your distance, as there's a high chance of getting disemboweled or mauled to death in one swift arm strike. Only very stubborn predators hunted down the Chalicotherium, and one of the most stubborn ones was the Homotherium. Small yet mighty, the unique appearance of these prehistoric felines was already an indicator of trouble. It had a sturdy, muscular build, with an imbalance between its front and hind legs. In other words, it had longer front limbs than hind limbs. In terms of size, Homotherium measured around 280 kilograms or 550 pounds, and could also reach a shoulder height of 1.15 meters or 4 feet. In addition to these were the sharp, retractable claws that could slash open the prey's throat in one single paw strike, and then there's also the saber-like teeth. Somehow, just by appearance alone, the Homotherium looked formidable, and indeed, it was. This creature was built for hunting, which explains why even dangerous herbivores like Chalicotherium and behemoths like the prehistoric mammoth couldn't withstand its tenacity for long. And to make matters worse, scientists believe these animals hunted in packs. Imagine strolling down the vast African savanna 2 million years ago and seeing a bunch of menacing lion-like cats with protruding teeth making their way towards you. In a minute, you find yourself surrounded by these unforgiving meat-eaters, and you know you've come to the end of the road, and a horrible, painful death awaits you. But the scenario would have been even worse if you were being surrounded by the Agriotherium. These horrifying prehistoric bears had the most frightening look, and were pretty much savage too. The impressive size was enough to send shivers down your spine, as its body could grow to lengths of 270 centimeters or 9 feet, and shoulder heights of 165 centimeters or 5.5 feet. To give you a perspective, picture the Agriotherium as the largest, strongest brown bear you could ever imagine, but with a face that could scare the living daylight out of you. In addition, these bears could weigh a massive 1 ton or 1,980 pounds, and had long legs that made them surprisingly agile for their size. But perhaps the most frightening thing about the Agriotherium was its incredible bite force of 4,500 newtons, enough to crush your skull into 1,000 pieces. This creature had the most powerful bite force of all mammals at the time, and it's easy to see why it was the apex predator. However, as far as the history books go, the one creature that always seemed to have crippled every other creature with fear and intimidation due to their voracious appetite and excessive hunting is man. You would think that early humans were no match for claws and saber teeth, but you'd be shocked to know that our African ancestors literally hunted down every kind of beast that was available for food. In fact, records have shown that humans were responsible for a large number of prehistoric predators that went extinct. It's a stark reminder of our ancestors' dominance over the ancient world, reshaping ecosystems as they pursued their prey. But one thing is certain, nowhere was safe in prehistoric Africa. Life back then was a living nightmare, no thanks to the deadly beasts that lurked every corner. But how dangerous were the beasts in prehistoric Africa compared to those in prehistoric Australia? Watch this next video to find out.